On this Friday night, cartel violence leaves Canadians stranded in Mexico.
Normally, this street is extremely busy.
Ottawa's warning for travelers as deadly clashes shut down a tourist hotspot.
We cannot get to the airport from where we are.
An unexpected job boom brings Canadians economic hope, but persistent worker shortages still linger. Could immigration be the answer?
It is probably our best tool for increasing the size of the labor market.
The search for scammers who sold a Toronto home without consent. How COVID may have helped pull off the massive mortgage fraud. Plus, buzzing over a new vaccine.
We need to have solutions that are non-chemical, that are tested, that are safe.
The world first that has Canadian researchers looking for new ways to protect an agricultural workforce.
Global National with Farah Nasser.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Canadian snowbirds and vacationers in Western Mexico are trying to figure out what's next and whether they can or should come home. The high-profile arrest of a drug lord who is the son of drug kingpin El Chapo has led to an explosion of violence in the past 24 hours. Shots have been fired, trucks set on fire, mostly in Culiacan, the home base at the Sinaloa cartel, located 2 hours north of Mazatlan, a popular vacation spot. WestJet and Sunwing have now canceled a number of flights in and out of Mazatlan as it waits for the situation to stabilize. As Heather Yourex-West reports in our top story tonight, Canadians who are now trapped in the region are frightened and figuring out a way to come home.
With beautiful beaches and the promise of sun, it's no wonder thousands of Canadians flock to Mexico every winter. Justin Noga knew it would be the perfect place to propose.
We've been here since Saturday. We're actually here, we got engaged on Sunday.
But Noga and his fiancée were forced to stop celebrating and start sheltering when cartel violence gripped the region.
The cities were actually very much affected. There were a lot of disruptions. We do not expect that level of disruption going forward, but it is worth keeping in mind that situations may occur.
In the Sinaloan city of Culiacan, burning buses blocked roads and an Aeromexico plane was hit by gunfire Thursday after the arrest of Mexican drug cartel leader Ovidio Guzman, son of the infamous El Chapo.
They just basically shut the city down and took every precaution to make sure that there was no problems within Mazatlan.
3 airports, including Mazatlan International, were closed as well, putting travel plans for many on hold.
We don't want to go there. We just wanted to rebook our flight somewhere else. We don't feel safe going there, but we have had zero information from the airline.
By Friday, Global Affairs Canada announced that the Mazatlan and Culiacan airport had reopened. And while an advisory warning against all non-essential travel remains in place, security experts believe the threat is likely over for now.
The cartels really don't have a vested interest in going after Canadians or Americans or other expats. Certainly sheltering in place while you had the violence there, it was a very wise move. But one thing, once things settle down, it should go back to kind of that normal pattern and the normal concerns.
I think everything is kind of seems like is opening up and the transportation is back.
Though many travelers, including Justin and his fiancée, are still waiting for word on how they'll get home.
We want to get back to our families.
After a tense reminder that this piece of paradise is not without risk. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Severe flooding has hit parts of California's coast as another storm moves in. It's part of a series of bomb cyclones and atmospheric rivers that are prompting evacuation warnings in low-lying cities like Santa Cruz. Crews are racing to restore power to tens of thousands of people before the next storm moves in. Heavy rain is forecast through Sunday. Mudslides are now a worry after repeated downpours and past wildfires have stripped hillsides of vegetation. Canada started the new year with some good news on the economy after closing out 2022 with a big boost in job numbers. According to Statistics Canada, the country added 104,000 more jobs in December, slightly dropping the national unemployment rate down to 5%. That's a hair above the record set in June of last year. Mackenzie Gray breaks down the new numbers and why they might actually not be as helpful as the cost of living increases.
In turbulent economic times, the Canadian labour market is defying expectations. The latest jobs numbers coming in over 20 times higher than expected.
So far, we're entering into the new year in probably the strongest position that we could be hoping for.
84,000 of the new jobs were full-time and created almost exclusively in the private sector. Construction led the way with 35,000 new workers, transportation a close second. Healthcare suffered the largest drop, with 17,000 workers leaving an already struggling system. Despite the big gains, the numbers of hours worked actually stayed flat. The culprit? The triple threat of COVID, RSV, and the flu, leaving 8.1% of workers needing days off.
It's entirely possible that some businesses are having to go out and hire extra people because so many are basically calling in sick. I think that likely played a role.
Wages are up for the 7th consecutive month, but they still lag behind red-hot inflation. The surprise report flies in the face of what the Bank of Canada had expected would happen.
In recent months, we've seen initial signs of these exceptionally tight labour markets starting to ease.
That puts Tiff Macklem in a difficult position. The bank is trying to tame inflation by slowing down the economy, but the hot jobs market has BMO, CIBC, and Desjardins all predicting the Bank of Canada will increase rates later this month by 25 basis points, bringing their key rate to 4.5%.
The fact that the Canadian economy is historically sensitive to interest rates are high, that'll weigh on consumers, it'll weigh on borrowers, and we'll continue to see the impacts of a softer housing market work their way through the broader economy.
Another hike would put more pressure on an already declining housing market and make it more difficult for Canadians who are set to renew their mortgages.
We definitely hear the words, "I'm going to need to sell my house," from some people.
Today's report has left some economists believing Canada could pull off a so-called soft landing, where inflation drops to pre-COVID levels, but we don't head into a recession. However, Farah, most are still betting on a mild recession later this year.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thank you for that. Despite the growth in jobs last month, there's data that highlights the persistent labor shortages in this country. Employers across all industries were still looking to fill nearly 960,000 vacant job positions across Canada. That's according to a Statistics Canada report released last month. And at the same time, the country also welcomed a record number of new immigrants last year. And as Touria Izri reports, they may be the key to filling the most crucial job openings.
For immigrants arriving in Canada, the first steps can be uncertain, but Jihan Shliha laid the groundwork early.
I tried to prepare my arrival to Canada much before.
The 35-year-old IT specialist moved from Morocco to Ottawa at the start of the pandemic.
I could land my first job like about 2 months after I landed here. So that was, apparently it's a record.
Canada set its own record last year, welcoming more than 430,000 new permanent residents.
Hugely significant. It shows, that the government's plan to bring really record numbers of immigrants has been working.
The government is boosting immigration levels as part of its strategy to fill significant worker shortages.
It's not a magic pill, it doesn't solve everything, but it is probably our best tool for increasing the size of the labor market over time.
Most newcomers land in big cities, and while many find jobs waiting for them, immediate, affordable housing is often out of reach.
I think there is a crisis, there isn't enough. We want more people to come, but we don't have where to host them.
A recent report from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation found the country needs to build an additional 3.5 million homes by 2030 to make life more affordable.
I don't think the solution to our housing challenges is to shut the door to newcomers. I think it's to build more houses.
We don't bring in very many immigrants who work in trades and construction comparatively and compared to other countries. So if we did more of that, we may be able to address some of those labor shortages.
Ottawa's plan for the new year is to prioritize specific sectors.
The health sector, the care sector, construction and tourism, all the areas where we know there's skill shortages and people don't necessarily have to have a master's degree.
Whatever the job, one thing is universal. Resettling in a new country is rarely easy.
Change is not easy, but it's refreshing.
Especially for those embracing change in challenging times.
Yeah, wow.
Touria Izri, Global News, Ottawa.
And embracing the snow. The U.S. jobs report was also out today, and it was also positive. Employers there added 223,000 jobs in December. But there is one job that just can't seem to be filled. Speaker of the House. American lawmakers are in for a late night as they desperately try to reach a deal on the fourth day of voting. Republican leader Kevin McCarthy faces stubborn opposition from within his own party. Our Washington bureau chief Jackson Prosco joins us now. Jackson, where did things stand?
Farah, the results of 2 more rounds of voting today suggest that things may finally be starting to shift. Kevin McCarthy was able to sway 15 of the 21 holdouts opposed to his leadership, but his remaining opponents still have enough votes to block his bid for Speaker. So they've decided to adjourn until 10 p.m. local time tonight in hopes that they can get 2 more Republican lawmakers back into town who'd been unable to vote and sway at least 2 of those remaining holdouts. It's all a bit of a long shot, but at this point it's also McCarthy's only shot, and he genuinely believes he will be Speaker before the night is over. Now, to get this far, McCarthy has had to make major concessions to the far right wing of the Republican Party, which could ultimately make it very hard for him to keep the support of the moderates he will need if he actually wants to get things done. Among the things the so-called Freedom Caucus is asking for are cuts to defense spending and Social Security. They also want McCarthy to change the rules of the House so that a single member can seek to oust him as Speaker at any point in time. All of this is to say that even if McCarthy does lock up his bid tonight, his time as Speaker will all but certainly be rocky, and his grip on power will be tenuous. Farah?
Certainly. Jackson Prosco in Washington. Thank you, Jackson. President Biden has presented America's second highest civilian award to 14 people who helped defend against the attack on the Capitol 2 years ago today. Biden paid tribute to their heroism, saying they did not flinch as they defended democracy. Among the recipients were election workers and members of law enforcement, including Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who died a day after supporters of Donald Trump stormed the building. Biden says the violence was fueled by lies about the 2020 presidential election. Russia's proposed ceasefire does not appear to be quelling the violence in Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin has said he wants both sides to stop fighting for Orthodox Christmas. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hasn't agreed. He says it's just a ploy to give Russian troops an advantage on the battlefield. Some people spent today in bomb shelters as Christmas festivities began. In Lviv, children sang carols as they sheltered from air raid sirens. Each side is accusing the other of breaking the truce. As Redmond Shannon reports, it comes the same day Ukraine gets a huge boost of military aid.
A holiday of peace in a country at war. Soldiers marking the eve of the traditional date of Ukrainian Orthodox Christmas. The head of Ukraine's Orthodox Church prays for victory on the battlefield. In the Donbass, the fight goes on under the Yuletide snow. Ukraine rejected Vladimir Putin's proposal of a 36-hour ceasefire for what is also Russian Orthodox Christmas. These Ukrainian troops say that was just a scam. We don't trust them. What ceasefire? Can you hear that? Said this soldier. Moscow, however, claimed all of its forces downed their weapons at noon local time on Friday. Ukraine says just before the ceasefire was supposed to come into effect, Russian shelling on a fire station killed 1 rescue worker in Kherson.
Welcome. Yes, sir.
In Kyiv, President Volodymyr Zelensky met with U.S. Senators Jack Reed and Angus King.
Thank you very much for everything.
Their visit timed to coincide with Washington's announcement of a huge aid package.
Gimlers, rockets, surface-to-air missiles as well, anti-vehicle landmines, ammunition.
In all, more than $3 billion worth of military assistance for Ukraine, the largest such package yet, coming on a week when France and Germany also donated defense missiles and military vehicles to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin's closest foreign ally met with Russian soldiers. Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko speaking to Kremlin troops stationed in his country for a joint exercise. Raising fears Russia may again use Belarus as a staging post to attack Ukraine, as it did last February. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
A nightmare homecoming coming up. The brazen fraud that left a Toronto couple without a home. to a bizarre case of real estate fraud. The owners of a Toronto area home were away on a business trip abroad. They came home to find out that two people impersonated them and their house had been sold behind their backs. Kayla McLean on the crime and the alleged culprits.
It was January 2022. As fewer properties were being listed and market conditions were tightening in the GTA, this is when police say Toronto homeowners, away on a business trip, discovered their home was sold without their consent or knowledge. Toronto police are now looking for these two people they allege pretended to be the homeowners, hired a real estate agent, and listed the Etobicoke property for sale. The home sold to new owners who took possession. Investigators say the legitimate owners never found out their property had been sold until several months later. So how can something like this happen? This real estate expert says it may be more common than one might think.
Somewhere along the way, a person with access to the land registry system, whether it's a lawyer or another person, transferred the title from the present homeowners to someone else illegally.
That land registry system, Ron Alfonso says, is administered and owned by Terranet on behalf of the Ontario government. Real estate lawyers and others who are authorized to transfer titles and sell houses have access to it through specific key codes.
Their key code is taken by somebody else or copied by somebody else or misappropriated in some way. That person has access to the system and can do whatever they want. They can transfer one house or 100 houses.
And Alfonso says thanks to COVID precautions, this type of fraud is relatively easy to pull off. Pre-COVID, clients need to go to a lawyer's office when buying a home to sign documents, answer questions, and present ID.
Now you can do what is called DocuSign or electronic signing online. You can easily go into Photoshop, just copy a passport, change a picture here and there. The lawyer's going to accept them at face value.
In the Etobicoke case, police have not released the names of the accused, just these two photos. Global News reached out for more information, but police, remaining tight-lipped, only directed all queries back to the release. As for how homeowners and buyers can protect themselves against this type of fraud, purchase
title insurance. That protects the buyer against fraud, illegal transfer of title, a whole range of items.
Kayla McLean, Global News.
Explosive eruptions ahead. The Hawaiian volcano spewing lava once again. One of the world's most active volcanoes is erupting again in Hawaii. Lava is flooding the crater at Kilauea's summit, covering about 120 hectares. It's not threatening surrounding communities, but officials are monitoring high levels of hazardous volcanic gas. Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin is now breathing on his own for the first time since his cardiac arrest. Doctors have removed his ventilator. The 24-year-old is talking, and he even joined an emotional team meeting on FaceTime today. The number 3 has now been spray painted on the Bills' home turf, and the team will wear a special patch during Sunday's game. Hamlin collapsed on the field during Monday's game. Team Canada's done it again at the World Junior Hockey Championship, winning the gold medal game against Czechia. Canada was up 2-0 entering the third period, but the Czechs scored twice in under a minute to tie it up late. Dylan Gunther scored the golden goal in overtime to seal it for the Canadians. And the budding star, Connor Bedard, was named tournament MVP. Protecting pollination. Next, the new vaccine making a buzz in the bee industry. Let's talk about bees. Apart from making honey, they're essential to pollination. And according to Statistics Canada, bees contribute over $3 billion to the agricultural industry every year. But they, just like us humans, can get sick. So a new vaccine in the U.S. has beekeepers very excited. And as Mike Drolet reports, there's an exciting Canadian development, too.
They're the workhorse of the agricultural world, doing double duty pollinating crops and making honey. Far less known is how susceptible bees are to disease. Last winter, 45% of the colonies in Canada were lost. The main culprits, varroa mites, and a bacterial disease called foul brood.
Since the dawn of humans keeping bees, we've had foul brood, basically.
Foul brood attacks and kills larvae as they hatch. The bacteria's spores can also lay dormant for decades, making it difficult to catch. And the only sure way to get rid of it is to burn the entire colony, which can have disastrous consequences.
If those colonies have to be destroyed at the wrong time, it can have it has a very large multiplier effect on the total agricultural output of that area.
Breeding disease-resistant bees and testing alternative treatments is constantly on the mind of Leonard Foster and his team at the University of British Columbia. The problem with using antibiotics to treat foul brood, he says, is twofold. Bees are becoming immune, and antibiotics leave a residue in honey, which is why the industry is buzzing about the first vaccine developed for honeybees being approved for use in the U.S.
We need to have solutions that are non-chemical and that are not dangerous for the environment, that are tested, that are safe, that are manufactured to the highest level of purity, all of those things. And that was our mission.
The approval process in Canada, she says, will begin soon and could end up on the desk of agri-food research scientist Steve Purnell in Alberta. But Purnell is also working on a treatment for an even bigger pest, the Varroa mite, a made-in-Canada solution that has already seen positive results in the field.
We constantly have to find alternatives. So this would be a new alternative, but it would be a very different one chemically than what's currently out there. So I think there's lots of potential for this to be adopted by the beekeeping industry.
It's potentially a double dose of good news for Canada's 800,000 bee colonies. And keeping them healthy keeps us fed. Mike Drolet, Global News, Toronto.
And that's Global National for this Friday night. I'm Farah Nasser, and your Canada tonight is this gorgeous pink sky above Norris Point, Newfoundland and Labrador. Until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.